What's going on, guys? Welcome to my home. Today I'm going to be showing you 3 different exercises that you can do anywhere. You can do these in a house, you can do these while traveling in a hotel, anywhere that you've got a door. So we're going to jump right into this. Now, one of the things that I recommend when doing resistance bands, which is what we're going to be using, I forgot to mention that part. These are 3 exercises that you can do anywhere with resistance bands. So anytime you do resistance band workouts, I recommend getting some gloves. Bands do create a lot of friction, so I like full-fingered gloves. The other thing that you're going to need is a door anchor. So it's got a nice soft squishy foam end right here so it doesn't damage your door, and then on the other end it's got a loop. So this one right here is a Undersun Fitness door anchor. You can find these online, find them on Amazon. And what we're going to do for this first exercise, we're going to open the door. Now I recommend when you're doing anchored exercises with a door that you stand on the side of the door that closes, and that way as you're pulling, it's actually pulling the door shut so you don't ever have the risk of the door coming open. So what we want to do for this first exercise is we're going to loop this over the top. Now, this is an extra tall door. This is a 10-foot tall door. I'm not that short. I'm not tall either, but I'm not that short. So I'd say place it over the door, but I'm going to have to kind of flip this over the door. Well, second try. And shut the door. Go ahead and take the slack out of it. We're going to take our band. You want to run it through the loop and then through itself. I believe they actually call that a lark knot. Not 100% certain about that. Okay. So to start, what we want to make sure is that we have tension all the way through the range of motion no matter what exercise we're doing. So this first exercise is going to mimic a lat pull down. So normally you're sitting in a machine, your arms start overhead and you're pulling down just like this. So we're going to mimic that exact same movement here. Now if I were standing, it's hard for me to get enough tension all the way at the top of the range of motion. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and come down, start here in this kneeling position. Now, I like to go ahead and pre-stretch the band just a little bit. So I'm going to reach up top here. Like I said, make sure that I have tension at the very top of the range of motion. Now, body position is very important when doing pull downs, whether you're doing them here with bands or you're in the gym using a lat pull down machine. Where I see a lot of people make mistakes, one, they have a tendency to try to use momentum, and so they rock back as they do each set, or a lot of people round their shoulders. What we want to do is get nice and upright, stick our chest out, get a slight arch in our back. To do this, I like to keep my chin up. Wherever your head goes, your body has a tendency to follow. So chin up. Again, get tension here at the top. And what we want to think about as we pull down, don't think about pulling your hands down, because if you think about your hands, you're going to have a tendency to use your biceps. We want to focus on our lats. So we're going to put our attention towards our elbow. So we want to think about pulling our elbows down and towards our side, getting a nice squeeze here. Just like that. Now, mental thought process, almost think about this in steps. So again, we're not thinking about just pulling our hands down. We want to think about pulling our shoulder blades down. So see this right here? Look how much motion I can get without bending my arms at all. So that needs to be step 1. So step 1, shoulders come down and then elbows come down and squeeze at the bottom. Now, this is one of the reasons I really like resistance bands, is I feel a much better contraction in my lats than I do even with a lat pull down machine, because with a lat pull down using a bar, you usually get right about here and this is where it stops. So I'm able to come much further down and get a much stronger contraction. And that's what you want. You want to activate as much of those muscle fibers as possible. So it's all about getting a good peak contraction there. Now, this exercise is working your lats. Now you have to remember, your lats pull your arms down toward your side, but they also pull your arms back like this. So that takes us into exercise number 2. Now, let me go ahead and take the anchor out here because we're going to reposition this. And we're going to anchor this right about kind of halfway in between our hips and our chest. Same thing. I'm going to close that right in the door. Take out that slack. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do rowing movements. Whether you're using a barbell, you're in the gym using a rowing machine, or if we're using resistance bands, I can do rows where my elbows go out nice and wide like this, or I can supinate my hands, meaning turning them up, and I can keep my elbows close to my body and I can pull back. So my hands are going to come closer to my hip. So now look at the position of my arms. Again, let me turn sideways here. You can see now my arms are coming down towards my sides. In other words, I told you that our lats pull our arms back like this. So that's exactly what we're mimicking here. So we don't want to come wide with this particular exercise. That's going to be exercise number 3. I'll show you a variation. So our band is anchored in the door. Now, you could come all the way out here. I like to create a little bit more resistance in the band using linear variable resistance. So shortening the length of the band. The more we shorten the length, the harder it is. So I'm going to grab it about mid-length here. Put one foot in front of the other. You have to really brace yourself. Get a nice strong footing here, because as we pull, it's going to want to pull you forward. So you have to have a very strong base, and you have to go ahead and tense your core. So that's why using resistance bands is good for stability, good for core strength. So one foot in front of us. We're going to lean back just a little bit. Same thing. Chest out, slight arch in our back, keeping our chin up. And as we pull, we can start with our palms facing down, but as we pull, we want to turn them up, keeping our elbows close to our side, pull right to our hip. Now, here's what I don't want it to look like. We don't want this right here. Remember to get that turn. Keep the elbows close to your side, hands to the hip. Now, just like we did with the pull down, same thing with our shoulders here. I'll demonstrate. Look how much movement, watch my hands right here. Watch how much movement I can get without bending my arms at all, just by pulling my shoulder blades back and down. See that? Same thing. You always want to initiate with your shoulders first. So shoulders down and back, and then focus on those elbows. Again, just like I talked about with the pull down, don't focus on your hands, because then you're going to end up using a lot of biceps. Put all your attention towards your elbow and thinking about pulling them straight back. Even before you do your set, try a couple practice reps and try doing it the different ways, because I want you to develop that mind to muscle connection. In other words, what does that feel like? So you need to feel the difference between the two. So come over here and try that. Try focusing on your hands and see what it feels like when you pull with your biceps. And then practice feeling what it feels like to pull back with your elbows. And once you feel that, it's going to click with you. It's going to make sense. And from then on, you're going to make sure that you're very disciplined about your form, because that's the biggest mistake that I see in the gym or with resistance bands. It doesn't matter how people train. I see people using sloppy form. they're not disciplined and they don't have that mind-muscle connection. So every rep you should feel. It's not just about going through the motions and just counting reps and saying, hey, I trained really heavy and I did it for my 10 reps. No, every rep's got to count. You got to feel every one of them. So that is exercise number 2. Now, we were focusing on our lats. So pulling our arms down towards our side, pulling our arms back. Now we want to focus on the other muscles in our back, because our lats attach to our humerus, which is our upper arm bone. And that's why it's all about our arms. Now we want to focus on pulling our shoulders back. And one of the biggest muscles in our back is our trapezius, or our traps. Now, when most people think about traps, they think about just doing shrugs like this. Your traps do help pull your shoulders up, but they also pull your shoulders back. So we want to focus on that. And here's how we're going to do it. Let me take the door anchor off. I'm going to unknot that because I'm going to use this exact same band. And this one is going to be an unanchored exercise, so we don't have to use our door anchor. So we can set that aside. And what we're going to do, there's 2 ways to do this. One, if I have a lighter band, I could step on both of them like this, both sides, and grab through the loop. This band's a little tough for that, so I'm going to step inside the band, and I'm going to create more or less resistance depending on the width of my stance. So the wider I stand, the more it stretches the band, the harder it is. The narrower I stand, the less resistance. I can also adjust it another way, which is based on where I grip the band. The lower I grip it, the more I'm pre-stretching the band, the more resistance I create. If I need a little bit less, I can loosen my grip. So you actually have a lot of different resistance levels in just one band. Now, if I want to create more or less, I can also combine bands as well. But we're going to start with this one right here. So this is a row, just like we did there. But on this exercise, the second one, we focused on keeping our elbows close to our side. This one, we want to do the opposite. We want to focus on taking our elbows out nice and wide. So here's what it's going to look like. In this bent position, again, same body position. We want to stick our chest out, so just that little bit of an arch in our back. Again, chin up. And we're going to pull straight up towards our chest. Now, just like our other 2 exercises, we want to focus on our elbows, not our hands. Because again, if we focus on our hands, it ends up looking like this. We're going to use a lot of biceps, and our arms are going to fatigue before our back does. So we want to focus on pulling our elbows back. But before we do that, I bet you can guess what I'm going to say, which is we want to pull our shoulder blades back and squeeze them together. Imagine if I were to stick my hand right between your shoulder blades, you would want to try to pinch my hand between your shoulder blades. That's what I want you to imagine. So that is going to be that step or that process in your head, which is step 1, pull the shoulder blades back, squeeze them together, and then pull the elbows back. Now, as you get better at it, it's not going to look so jerky or mechanical. It'll look like one smooth motion, which starts with the shoulders and then the elbows. Now, just like I suggested with the other 2 exercises, try it both ways before you even start doing your set, because once you get into your set, you're going to be all about just getting into it and all out exertion, and you're not going to be focused on form as much. So do a couple practice reps and try the difference. Try pulling with your hands, see what it feels like. Then see what it feels like to pull your shoulder blades back. See what it feels like to pull with your elbows and pull as far back as you can and really get that peak contraction, meaning that squeeze. Feel the difference. That's what I want you guys to learn, is to train by feel, especially if you're going to train with resistance bands. People say, well, when I train with free weights, I know that I can go from 20-pound dumbbells to 25-pound dumbbells to 30-pound dumbbells. How do I know which band or how much resistance to use when I'm training with resistance bands? And the answer is you have to learn to train by feel. You should know what a peak contraction feels like. You should know when you can't do any more reps with really good form. And that's the real indicator. It's not how many reps can I do, it's how many reps can I do with really good form and getting that good squeeze or that peak contraction. So those are 3 awesome exercises, whether you're a beginner just getting started in working out, whether you're a veteran of the gym and you just want some variation, you want something that you can do at home or on the go. Those are 3 awesome exercises that you could do anywhere, and you can build a big back, a strong back, just like you could if you were in the gym using free weights or machines. So I'm James Grage. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be doing more videos just like this one. So make sure to go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any. And I'll see you guys next video.